Scarlet and Violet singles are continuing to see massive drops in prices, including the new Umbreon from Prismatic Evolutions. We're seeing it at an all-time low, a very interesting price point. I'm going to break down what all of that means moving forward, and you guys are going to want to stick around till the end of the video. There are some sealed products going down as well. But let's just jump straight into the video here, starting. This was the card I wanted to talk about the most. And you can see we're going to take a look at TCG Player first, but the more interesting side is actually happening on eBay, and you'll see that in a second. But what I wanted to talk about is the Umbreon from Prismatic. You can see, obviously, percentage-wise on TCG Player, it doesn't look that bad, right? It only looks like it's down 12%. You can see in February we were at 1,600 and now we're down to 1,300. So pretty big drop just dollar wise. And you can see the most recent sale on here is actually at 1,200, 1,244 specifically. Lowest listeds right now as of the recording of this video are around 1,300, right? So you look at that and you go, okay, I mean, that's a big drop, but it's not as crazy as you were talking about. But when you go over to eBay, this is when we really are starting to see the big price drop. I mean, these are currently the lowest listed cards on eBay. Look at these prices. We're seeing technically sub $1,000, but we're going to call it 1,000 for the argument of this video. 1,000, 1,000, 1,050, and then you have like 1,100 for a PSA 9 copy, 1,100 down here as well. So currently, these cards can be had for around $1,000, which is kind of wild considering, they were going toe to toe with the Umbreon from Evolving Skies, and now we're seeing them at $1,000 for near mint copies on eBay. And what is nice too about authenticity guarantee is, that if you're ever worried about picking up cards, just a random eBay thing, it's going to get sent and authenticated, so you're going to know that these cards are real when you're spending this much money. So if you are picking something up in this price range, at least on eBay, you do have that. So that is a nice peace of mind when it comes to that. But comparatively, like if we take a look, we're going to take a look at the Umbreon VMAX in a second. But here's the PSA 10 pricing, which is still very expensive, but it has come down. These are the last solds. $2,850. 2,700, 2,800, and then there's a few that are creeping back up near that $3,000 mark. This one was pretty close at 2,940, but more recently starting to come down 2,800 and 2,700. So PSA 10s are still expensive, but the raw copies, they're coming down in price quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see if the PSA 10s come down more later, because there is a backlog currently at PSA. Their turnaround times have gone up, their prices have gone up. So that is something I would be willing to bet that there's a lot of these cards at PSA currently. So when those come back, maybe that's when we'll see more of a drop in the PSA 10 prices when those get back to the owners there. So that's interesting. So probably a delay on the PSA 10 price drop. If we look at the Umbreon not really getting hit like the Prismatic one. You can see we're at 1,600. There was a recent sale around 1,300, but lowest listeds right here, if you want to pick one up for an English copy, is 1,600, which is right at the current market price. So the Evolving Skies Umbreon is holding much more steady. It's at 1,600. It's pretty much, that's where it's been, obviously with some exceptions, right? But it's been more steady. So with the new Prismatic, we also are getting a ton more Prismatic product, obviously, so that's going to play a factor as well moving forward. But it's not only the Umbreon that is declining. We're seeing it kind of across the board in Scarlet and Violet right now. The Greninja, although this chart currently isn't showing a pretty big drop because it's showing it back here on this 3-month chart, in the past month it's down around 15%, and the 3-month chart would look worse if it was able to, if we were able to look at this in a bit more time where it could properly show. But the Greninja, just for reference, from a high of $411 down to $318. However, we have the most recent sales. We're dipped down into the 200s $280 on the Greninja. We haven't seen that pricing on this card. We have to go back to 280. Pretty much back to, it did dip a little bit right here. We have to go back to October. October is the last time we've seen 280 on the Greninja. So that was the most recent sale. And you can see lowest listed currently. As of this recording, there is a $280 listing on TCG Player. It does go up after that, back up into the 300s, as you can see, but 280 currently listed. And, you know, supply of these cards is starting to get up. You're seeing 126 copies currently listed on TCG Player. So what is going to continue to happen as we move into the summer months here, which we usually see a summer drop in price, specifically with singles, as supply, people are ripping packs, ripping chips, everything at like a record pace. So we're seeing new cards introduced, Scarlet and Violet, obviously. So like your chase cards here, like your Greninja, there's going to be more of them that keep coming into the market. And as prices, people will get scared. And also with the supply being high, then people start undercutting. We see kind of a race to the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see as we move, you know, into the more summer months, like how much these cards continue to drop in price. So if you're looking for chase cards currently, for me, my approach would be to wait a little longer, wait until the summertime is in full effect, and we see these singles continue to drop. But some of them pretty massive, all things considered. And, you know, obviously, keep in mind too that, you know, with this Greninja right here, we're coming off of an all-time high as well. So, you know, it is normal to see price drops off of all-time highs. It hasn't been like that crazy, you know, currently, but considering how long it was, like over near or over $300, and it's getting back to that point, we'll see if it can drop back down below. So it's just something to keep an eye on as we move forward. And then, you know, obviously your newer sets like Journey Together are being plagued heavily by this. You know, your Lily's Clefairy, this card has been hit, you know, pre-release very high, obviously 326 was the high, but I mean, we're down 44% here off of that high. So, you know, that is obviously a little bit of an inflated number going off of pre-release, but we're down to most recent sale at 165 for the Lily's Clefairy. And, you know, for a new set, 133 copies already available on TCG Player, and that's where we're at with the lowest listed currently is 161. It is only one listing, and then it does jump back up into the 180s. But something else to keep an eye on. We'll see how far the Lily's Clefairy continues to fall. You can see on the 1 month continuing to drop, you know, another 14, almost 14% just in the past month alone, going from, it was holding over $200. And then once it kind of cracked below that, it's continued to drop. So we're seeing it across the board. And then this is one we've talked about a few times recently, and it's not, once again, inflated by pre-release pricing on this chart. So you're seeing 85% down. But the reason I bring this card up specifically is because this card was not that this card was controversial, but there was the whole enhanced booster box versus non-enhanced booster box thing that everyone was freaking out about for a while. And now, you know, this was the card that was in the enhanced box, and we're seeing it at $10. Okay, and pre-release pricing, it sold as high as, whoever sold these at 70 did really well. So 70 or $60, and now it's down to around 10 or 11. And you can see obviously 746 copies available. So this is, you know, your ultimate example of just undercutting and trying to get those sold. So that, I do think that that's funny, just considering the hype and the worry around the enhanced box. And then it's just like, well, this card's not really worth very much. And, you know, the booster boxes are holding at around $200 still. So the sealed side for Journey Together is holding up better than the singles. So keep that in mind. But that's what we're seeing from the Ends Reshiram, the stamped promo. It's not that crazy of a card, and really not that crazy to think that this one would drop. But just because of the controversy, I wanted to bring that up. And we have a lot of Eevees on this list, I was realizing as I was putting it together. You know, Eevee being so popular, I do think it's funny that just like the Eevee from Twilight, which is a very nice illustration, rare. I do like this card a lot. But this one's been hit very hard, down 38% and continuing to drop, albeit the drop has slowed down more recently. You can see back here, we were at $102 back in February, and then we're all the way down into the 60s, $63. You can see lowest listed right now actually at 60 on TCG Player. So we're pretty much at 60. We'll see if it drops down into the $50 range. That would be interesting to break below that. It's kind of held up there more recently, but one thing worth noticing is you will see an increase in sales happening, as this card has continued to drop. We've seen a lot of sales right here. Earlier April, right at the $65 range, we saw in these two bars here, over 100 items sold. So people were seeing that this was a buying opportunity around the $60 range. You can see we have well over 200 copies currently listed on TCG. So we'll see if this one maybe is bottoming out or continues to drop. It's something worth keeping an eye on, and I obviously will keep you guys updated as we do post daily content. So you guys make sure you're subscribed to the channel for daily market updates so you guys can stay up to date. If you don't want to watch the card, I'll let you know. And then the other Eevee that's dropped, this one was more surprising, albeit we did get more Pokemon Center ETBs that just, came into the market recently with that surprise PC ETB drop on the Prismatic side. But this being one of the better of the promos, this is the Pokemon Center stamped promo that we're looking at right here, but pretty big drop, down 37% on this card. You can see going from 135 back on April 3rd all the way down into the 80s. Most recent sale $76 and lowest listed's right around there. It's a little bit more, 78. So that's a pretty massive drop for this promo. And for a long time, we were seeing these stamped promos just go up and up and up and up for, it seemed like, forever, right? And it seemed like they couldn't go down is really what it seemed like. And now we're seeing kind of a pretty big reversal as far as that goes. This was the peak right here. So, and this 37%, this is just in the last month for this card. And like I said, I do believe that this is one of the better promos, and we're going to talk about a few of the other ones as well, because it's not just this Eevee card that is coming down in value. It is also the Mimikyu card is getting hit pretty hard. Pokemon Center stamp, you'll notice here, down 30% in the past month. This one was more affordable. I do like this promo. Obviously not as much as your Eevee, your Charmander, and your Snorlax. Those are kind of more of your top tier promos in my opinion, but a 30% drop in the past month, especially when these had so much hype from 50 down into the $30 range. You will notice here as well a big uptick in sales as of yesterday. Nothing too crazy. It was just 6 items, but you'll see that people will start to scoop these up as they reach whatever someone they identify it as a good entry point, whether it's the bottom or not. You'll see an increase in sales because people will want to pick these up and grade these because even though they are getting hit hard, these are limited availability on the stamped side. It does make them more rare, so just keep in mind that's what we're going to see. I don't know how low they're going to fall. You can see lowest listed's around $33 here, which is a little bit below market price, what we're even seeing now. So continuing to fall on the Mimikyu, the stamped promo. So there is going to be a lot of buying opportunity across the board for Scarlet and Violet stuff, but even on these more limited cards with the stamped promos. And then we have the Charmander, which is one of the best. Obviously the argument can be made that this is the best promo with squishing his forehead. Absolutely love it. Trying to get this Pidgey out the window. This card is still up rather big overall, but in the past month we are seeing around a 20% decline, going from 171 down to 138. Most recent sales actually around 120, and that is reflected in the lowest listeds. So pretty much down to 120, which would be quite a bit more on the percentage drop there if that was to update. Give it maybe a few more days for this chart to update. However, you look at the 3 month, we're about flat. Okay, and you look at the 6 month, obviously we're up 75%. So we're coming off of an all-time high. So on this card, it's been out for a long time. A year ago, it was very cheap, sub $20. And we're coming off of an all-time high at, around 175. So just keep in mind that, this drop on this card, while it is rather large, what we're seeing, kind of in the past month, it's still up 600% in the past year. So keep that in mind. Obviously, anywhere in here, you're doing really well on this card. But this one is definitely, I have my eye on it just to see how much it continues to drop, right? Because I wouldn't mind picking up multiple copies of some of these cards, including this Charmander, depending on how far they fall in value, because I still do believe that these cards will do well with the Pokemon Center stamps. It may have been a little bit of hype and maybe a little bit of overvaluing, perhaps, where they were at. So we'll see where they find new price points. So that it is an interesting, people were frothing at the mouth for these Pokemon Center stamp promos. Same thing with the Snorlax from 151, which has been one of the strongest. It's not down as crazy, but it is still down a little bit. And you're going to see a similar thing. This is the 1 month chart here, down only around 11%. So not that crazy. 186 down to 165. Most recent sale actually at 150. But you'll see an uptick in sales right here, May 1st. As the prices continue to decline, people will scoop them up. You can see lowest listed though right here. And this is where it does start to get more interesting. 126 and 130 are the two lowest listings right here on the stamped. So we haven't seen that pricing, and we'd have to go back, pull up the 6 month chart, see if we can even see it. 120. So we're looking at December time is when 120s was the lowest listed pricing. So it's been a while since this card has been that affordable. So keep that in mind as well. I don't know how far, the better of these cards are going to drop. I can't say for certain, but I just know that overall, my approach is to wait until the summer and see just how far things continue to drop, and then I will move and personally scoop up cards. So I'm still playing the waiting game on pretty much all of these cards across the board, but it is something just to note that we are in a pretty significant drop as far as singles go. A lot of sealed has been holding up well, with the exception, we are seeing some drops on the prismatic side. Obviously the reprint news coming in and the PC ETB drops have played a big factor in bringing these prices down. If you look at the 1 month here, this is the regular Elite Trainer box, and it's down almost around 10%, coming from a high of 140, and now we're down to in the 1 teens, which is still expensive, but much better than $140 range. So the ETBs are continuing to drop. Lowest listeds are right there, 118 shipped, so that lines up exactly with where the current market price is. So I don't know how much more these are going to continue to drop as of now. Sealed tends to hold up a little bit better than singles, but something worth noting is just that at least there's prices are dropping on the sealed for whatever products are actually getting printed. So the Prismatic ETB and then the PC ETB, like I said, is seeing a pretty big drop dollar-wise, because we did see a lot come into the market. These were 3 months ago, these were at 260, and we saw them hit as high as 350 for the Pokemon Center edition of the ETB, and now they're down as low as around 240, 230. And once again, you will see people will start buying these because these are more limited, right? They have the stamped Eevee card that we talked about earlier. So people are seeing this price. You can see actually the most sales around 240, 250, over 100 of these sold at that price. Lowest listed right now is around 240. So we'll see if these bounce back up or if they level off for a little while. But just something worth noting that they dropped. This chart's a little bit messed up visually, but 32% in the past month on the Pokemon Center ETBs. So that is a significant drop, especially if you missed out and you weren't able to get some. You want some for your collection. This is, obviously a pickup time as far as drops go. This is a very massive drop, 32%. And so across the board, singles dropping pretty massively. We don't know where the bottom is. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. The market, especially with singles, is unpredictable and definitely volatile. But what we can say for certain is that people are going to be kind of scared as these prices drop, and people are going to be willing to take less for their singles specifically, and they are going to start undercutting even more as these prices continue to drop, because they're going to be scared. They're going to say, for example, and there's tons of other cards that we didn't even mention in this video, like the Pikachu from Surging Sparks, the Bubble Mew. They're going to say, whether it's a duplicate or not, or they just were wanting to sell it, they're going to say, I want to sell this before it drops even more, so I'll take a few dollars less. And then you see that happen with over hundreds of cards, and that's how we get the prices dropping. So that's the reality of the current situation. I wouldn't be too scared. I'm not worried about the market or anything per se. I still think we're in a really good place. The market's really strong. We did see massive explosive growth happen very quickly. So when you see this kind of thing happen, especially if you have a card for the Bubble Mew as an example, or, seeing that it's still up very massively, because, really not that long ago, it was like an $80 card. So seeing that drop down, it's still up very big. I do feel bad for the people who did buy at those the peak highs, and that is unfortunate. And I could definitely, I have sympathy and empathy for those who did, and they're probably feeling, those individuals are not feeling particularly good about it, and that is rough. But that's why, at least my motto is to try to not chase highs, especially for singles. Sealed is always a little bit safer for that as well. So that's what we have for you regarding the singles that are dropping massively in value. Hopefully this video was informative for you. There should be a video popping up here if you want to enter the giveaway. I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys in this one. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.